Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to this edition of Chronic Wellness Livestream. I'm your host, Don Antonio. I want to welcome everyone. I don't do as many live streams as I'd like to, but something called for me to get on today. And kind of what it surrounds is what I've been getting is a lot of emails and things, people asking kind of repetitive questions. So there's like a lot of spiritual questions that begin to arise for people who are on the path and growing. And so I also want to do this live stream. It's kind of based on that. So if you're watching and you have any spiritual questions, any questions about spirituality or healing or consciousness, I would love to discuss those things. I'm not saying I know all the answers, but, I have some good tools to help us find some answers. And I think that's pretty important. So I want to welcome everybody. Happy Friday. I got my mocktail with me. I don't drink alcohol, but I got this really nice glass that's got the Tree of Life on it, which I really enjoy. And what I got in there is non-alcoholic ginger beer and a mixture of a couple different organic juices. And it's quite good. Another thing I've been working with a lot is, to spread the consciousness. And when I talk about Christ consciousness, I'm not necessarily talking in terms of religion, although I have no problem with religion. Religion's fine. I'm not an anti-religious person, but I am not actually a religious person. But what I do like to do is I like to spread out these. And what these are called are pocket Jesus, right? So you got these little Jesus figures, and what I'll do is I'll kind of like put them in non-suspecting places. I'll put them on a corner of something or somewhere where someone will stumble across it. And really what the symbolism is the Christ consciousness, the higher self, which is kind of where we're heading as a collective. Which kind of brings me to a question that came into me yesterday, which was, it was kind of, it was a stumper, a little bit of it. And the question actually came in from my father. And my father, good guy, but he's spiritually numb and pretty much cut off from the awareness of like what consciousness is or meditation or anything like that. But we were talking about something I believe was like health related. And as I kind of rifled through some information and shared with him, his question was like, how did you get to be this way? And I was like, wow, that's a really powerful question, because how do you explain that to someone that doesn't have an understanding of like even what spiritual remembrance or conscious development is, So that was kind of a tough one to answer. So I was like, well, you want the long version or the short version? In the short version, I was like, well, I guess the way I would put it is my higher intelligence started to speak. I started to be able to understand and hear beyond the ego mind, the ego voice, the thing that's all about worrying about the past and the future and identity and fitting in and all of these things. And that's kind of what our spiritual development has a lot to do with. 1 million Buddhas! What's up? What's up? How are you today? I'm glad you're here. Something that's happening Sunday, we'll be doing the Light Club group again, which is my favorite. I've been doing them every other week. I do want to move into every week. It just hasn't really lined up that way. But these are fun. If you've never done one, I recommend you try it out. All you got to do is message me for a Zoom link, and I give you a Zoom link, and you'll just, you got to download Zoom into your device, whatever it is you're using, and then what you do is you'll enter the room and there'll be other people besides me there, and what we do is I usually lead everybody in some breath work, some meditation, some prayer, perhaps some energy or spiritual work, and then what I do is I typically open up the floor for discussion so people can discuss maybe their experience with what happened, or maybe somebody has another experience they want to share, or something they have questions about or want to talk about, because it is very often that people on the spiritual path don't have other people directly around them to talk to about these things. It's a little different for me because it's kind of like my daily grind, my daily job. I talk to people all over the world every day about spirituality and consciousness and the development of human. But bringing people together in a community like that is a beautiful thing, because you can see some of the capacities in which people are thinking, or there's commonalities where people seem to get stuck. And it's quite helpful, because sometimes if you're stuck somewhere in the path, all it takes is an idea or two from a couple other people that have already been through there to help you get dislodged and moving forward. Because it's not really like you can ever get stuck. I don't even like using that word, like stuck. That's more of a mental thing. You're going on a journey and you're just going to continue moving however it's meant to move. But how I always put it is you can go with the flow of universal intelligence and energy, or you can kind of be stagnant and it'll just drag you along. And usually there's a little more suffering involved there. Part of the human experience is pain. Okay, I'm never going to tell anybody, like, listen, the higher you fly, there's a pain-free life. You won't have any issues or anything. That's not true at all. What is true is you develop the ability to be able to handle anything that arises. So whatever shows up in your reality, you have the tools to be able to take it apart with discernment and be able to reconstruct it in a way that actually works for you. Some people call these ideas, I don't really like this word, reframing, like taking something and reframing it. That's kind of like a mediocre way of doing it. It's really going into your story, going into your life and into your story, and being able to look at the things that you've called bad or difficult or terrible, or the people that have been difficult or bad or terrible. And what we're not doing is we're not making them not bad. What we're doing is we're finding the gifts which are within the bad experiences, okay? Because even the worst experience, your worst experience, has gems of learning, gems of lessons, and gems of revelation of who you are within it. And so you have to take the time to sit with that and be able to decipher with that. Kurt Carrington, what is up, my friend? I haven't heard from you in a while. I'm glad you're here. We're going to drop in. We're going to do a little bit of breath work. We're going to get ourselves expanded in our breath. This is my third practice of the day, so I'm already kind of warmed up. But if you want to warm up, what I usually do is I just kind of shake my arms out, shake the body. You're shaking everything out. And what you're doing is you're opening up. You're just opening up your lymph channels. You're opening up you can stretch some open. And what you're opening is your fascia. You're opening up your energy, getting it ready for your breath. So just a little bit of moving around before you start breathing is a beautiful thing. And then when it comes to your breathwork practice, this is the practice. Breathing's important all the time, but it's not something you can do while doing something else. A lot of people, even students I have this really wild misconception that, like, well, I walked in the park today and I did some focused breathing. That's good, but that's not what a breathwork practice is. That is not what a focused respiration practice is. Focused respiration is the time for you to be able to meditate, quiet the mind, relax the body. And here it is. It's Friday. So if you're ready to do this, come along with me. I'm not going to go too deep in case you're driving, because it is like rush hour Friday. And so I won't go too far, but normally you don't want to do too heavy of breathing while you're doing something like driving or in the bathtub or anywhere where it could be dangerous if you were to like lose consciousness for a second. Not that that happens a lot, okay? I'm not going to tell you that that happens a lot. It happens sometimes. I've really only ever had it happen to me when I'm in a seated, very comfortable position. I've never had it happen while I was doing something. I've seen other people just have really wild out-of-body experiences, but this also has to do with your experience level and how long you've been doing it. First step is breath mechanics for everyone. It's mechanics. We want to get into the mechanics of breathing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our hands, we're going to first put them on our chest, and I want you to notice how you're breathing. Are you breathing into your chest? Where's your air going? And then what we're going to do is we're going to split the hand. You're going to take the left hand, slide it down to your navel, your right hand up here even with your heart, And the first thing you want to do is just connect your hands to your body. I close my eyes. I feel my left hand on my belly, the warmth, the pressure of my hand. My right hand, I feel it on my chest, my heart. I can feel my heartbeat in my chest. And now I'm going to begin to breathe in through my nose. But first, I'm going to fill up the belly. This is very, very important, okay? This is where most people get stuck and give up when they're first learning how to use breath in a very powerful and spiritual and physically healthy way. But it's the whole idea is filling up the belly first. So down here where your left hand is, you're going to bring all of your attention down there. And I want you to breathe in. Don't let this hand move, just this hand. And you're going to breathe in. You're going to fill up your belly. And out through your mouth. And you're going to fill up your belly. And out through your mouth. It's going to take some practice. Just your belly, okay? Just your belly. Just a few more. 2 more. And 1 more. All right, so now moving your belly. If you're doing this right and you're just moving your belly, you may already be starting to get a little bit lightheaded. And that's normal because you're oxygenating your blood. You're actually changing the characteristics of the way that your body is using oxygen. You're actually alkalizing the blood a bit. And through that, what happens usually is like this sensation of lightheadedness. Another way I would say it in a more metaphysical sense is breath is light. So while you're breathing in, you're actually ingesting light. You're taking in light and you're filling it up into your body. The next step, okay, so the first step whenever I start my breathing is I do 5 to 8 to 10 breaths right into the belly. Okay, I'm just filling up the belly. Second, I move into what's called the wave. So I fill up the belly, then the chest, and out with a sigh. So it's like a wave. This takes practice, belly, chest. Like a wave. Right back in. Right back in. 3 more. Belly, chest. And 1 more. And just relax. Just let yourself feel what you feel. Okay, that's part of the breathing practice, is allowing yourself to get in touch with your body. Your mind may be running, thinking about all the things you got to do and all that stuff. That's fine. You're not trying to stop your thinking. This is what most people think. Most people I talk to say, do you meditate? Like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Well, tell me about your meditation. Well, I try to clear my mind of all thoughts. No, that is not what you want to do. Because if you're trying to clear, you're doing something. Try not to do. Try to just allow the thoughts to move off to the side. This just takes practice. It's kind of like just floating downstream and allowing the thoughts to float by, like the space around you or like a cloud floating by. It's not that you're stopping the thoughts. Your attention is just more in your body and in your breathing. And that's the thing. When the mind starts to run, slow your breathing down, drop into the body, make it like a wave. You can't be focused on your breathing and be incessantly thinking. That incessant thinking is what drives the sympathetic dominant state, the fight or flight mode. We want to instate the rest and digest mode. And how does that happen? Long inhale, longer exhale, relax. You're saying relax, belly, chest. Relax, relax. Say it out loud. Breathe in. As you breathe out, relax. Just saying the word makes it begin to happen. Relax. 1 more big relaxing breath. Good. Now you're getting your body more into that relaxed state. The next step is we want to be able to move the energy of your breath. We want to be able to move the fluid in your body from your root all the way to your crown, okay? And this just takes your intention and your breath. So now it's going to be 3 areas. It's going to be belly, or I kind of start like in the hips, tailbone area, and I fill up into the belly about here, and then more up into my head. So it's kind of like I don't really make a pause in between the breaths. It's one breath, but it's belly, chest, head. Okay, so your intention in your mind is I'm going to breathe in from the depth of my belly all the way to the top of my head. Let all your air out and breathe in from your belly to your head. Hold it up there. 2, 1, release. Back down into your belly. Your attention's there. Your attention's in your belly. You're going to fill up your belly up into your head. Follow it up. Pause at the top of your head. And release. Back down. Suck in your tummy a little. And you're going to fill up all the way to the top of your head. Hold it. And release. 3 more like that. Up to the top of your head. Top. Hold. Release. Good. All the way to the top of your head. Hold. Release. And once more, all the way to the top of your head. Hold it. And release. So now, when you start to breathe that way, you're moving blood, lymph, and cerebral spinal fluid into your brain. This also helps you to expand the energy in the proverbial third eye, or the pineal gland, okay? Or the conchis naui is what we call it in our tradition. It's the energy center in the middle of your head, in the center of your head, and this is your primary input to the upper world, to your higher consciousness, okay? Just as your tailbone and your navel are your primary connections into the lower world, okay? And then more in the middle world is the more middle of your body when you're feeling. I can feel through my navel. I use my navel as my primary tasting of energy, but I also am using the area more into the solar plexus and kind of in the heart too. So for me, and it's a little bit different for everyone, there's no like concrete way this has to be as far as energy awareness. But for me and many other priests, it's kind of a circular ball or eye that takes up all 3 of these areas, essentially. And this is how you can begin to take in information. But this only happens if you can let the mind let go. It's not trying to, we'll say things like silence the mind, quiet the mind, but that's not really what you're trying to do. You're not trying to put your hands over the mouth of your thoughts. You're just using your attention in a new way. You're moving the attention into the present moment and just becoming aware of even your inner body. All right, so now we're going to make it even bigger. We're going to try to fill up our whole body with air, okay? So I think about my fingertips and my toes, and I bring my attention there, and I'm going to try to fill up from my toes all the way up my arms and legs and to the top of my head, okay? Let all your air out and fill up to the top of your head. Hold it there. A release, let out through your hands and feet. And this feels really cool if you go into the mindset of it. Breathing in, fill in through your hands and feet. All the way to the top. Hold. Blow it out. Fill up all the way. 2 more. And 1 more. And just relax. Notice how you feel. I invite you to comment. Let me know how this feels if you're doing this breath exercise, or if you have questions about the breath or any spiritual questions. Today's kind of a spiritual question kind of day. I've been having a lot of them come up lately. There's lots of people all around the world having the spiritual remembering or awakening, okay? So it's happening a lot. And you know, there's some really interesting questions that pop up for people who are kind of early on the spiritual path. Things that kind of answer themselves as you continue on the journey, because some of these questions, there's no like feasible, physical, conceptual answer that will really answer it until the person observes it, observes the feeling. One of the biggest questions that seems to arise a lot is, and maybe you can ask yourself this, maybe you've wondered this, or maybe you're not paying attention to this question, but it's very important, okay? And that in question is, why am I here? Why am I here? And I want you to let that question into you. And if you have an answer, and if you'd like to share an answer, please put that answer up in the comments. We would love to see it. You know, this is the question of purpose. This is every spiritual path eventually brings people to this, it seems. It brings people to, like, okay, well, why am I here? Like, what is my life about? Is there a reason for my existence? And am I here to do something specific, or is life random? I would love for you to share your ideas. What do you feel about that? I would love to have a little discussion here. Hi, Junior Captain Ramos. Good to see you from Guyana, Africa. Good. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Brianna. Welcome. Welcome. So the question that I put out, and like I'm just kind of putting it out there for anybody that would like to discuss this, or maybe you have more questions beyond this, it's why am I here? So I like I was saying, if you're just getting here, I've had a lot of people reaching out lately with like some really repetitive spiritual questions. And this is one of them that seems to come up a lot, particularly with people who are kind of earlier on the path and haven't really went deep into their mind and into their connection to the higher power yet, because the answers to this kind of become obvious as you continue on the path. So it's like, what is my life about? So we have to be careful when we're there, because lots of people have lots of different ideas. What's my life about, right? So this has to do with meaning. Like, what does it mean to you? And meaning's a weird thing, because nothing inherently has any meaning until meaning is assigned, okay? Like, what does something mean? Well, nothing until you assign meaning to it. So what is my life about? What I would put it as experience is what I would say. At the deepest level, what I've come to learn and understand and connect to, as far as, you know, the spiritual and conscious connections to the universe is what is my life about? What's it all about? Experience. You're here to have many, many experiences, and through those experiences, learn things. And also, just the experience alone is learning. Not all the experiences feel good or are fun, I will say that. Another kind of connection to this, why am I here, is there a reason for my existence? Like, what's my reason for existence? And like I said, this is something that becomes more developed as you developed, because the reason for your existence is you are existence itself. You are creation itself. So I couldn't put it any more specific or plain or anything like that. Is you are creation itself, and what you're here for is the experience of your existence. And the thing is your existence is eternal. You may not be this human, this person forever, but you exist, and that's eternal. That's going to always be who you really are beyond that. And then, am I here to do something specific, or is life random? Nothing is random, is what I would tell you. So from my understanding and connection to the universe is nothing is random, and really everything is part of a very intricate design, the universal design, I would call it. Or if I was going to speak more from maybe a religious tone or standpoint, I would say God's design, which those things kind of mean the same thing to me. It's both. Like, so I'm not uncomfortable saying the word God. I'm not meaning it as Sky Daddy, or like how, people think other people think it is. Like, so, like, it's just like an atheist. Like, atheists are usually atheists because they don't really know what they are rejecting. They don't know what it is. They have a definition in their mind of what God is, and they reject that. But what if the definition is more than what you're agreeing to? That's important to understand. But yes, are you here to do something specific? Yes, you are here to do something specific. How do you find that out? Through stillness. Through stillness and connection into the upper mind. So it's kind of like be still and know. That's kind of how it works. You'll never know what you're truly meant to do through your thinking mind, through the thinking, the wanting, the desiring mind. You'll know what it is you're meant to do by the guidance that comes to you through your reality, through what's happening. We're usually in the way trying to make things happen all the time instead of allowing the reality to take us to where it needs to go, having faith, having trust in the universal design that is going to take me where it needs to take me. Not necessarily where I want it to go, but where I need it to go. I'm going to take a break there and see. I see there's a comment, a big comment. Kurt says, that was an awesome practice, brother. I do have a question. A few times I've been to group events and taken part in breathwork session, which is usually 50 minutes constant breathing. During this, I've accessed my higher self, more compassionate, more insightful and loving self. Is it possible to access this higher self during my regular morning 3 rounds, 30 breaths kind of practice? Absolutely. This requires you, like I said, to be able to, because when you're doing, I do longer practices. And what happens in the longer practices, you're shifting your brainwave rate. So that's happening because of the duration in which you're breathing. So what you need to do is you need to move your attention away from the thinking mind. I can access that dimension in less than 3 breaths. I can get out of my body in about 2 breaths. So this has to do with experience. Experience is developed through practice. So yeah, absolutely. You're accessing a higher frequency of consciousness. It's always there. You don't even need to do breathing to access it. That's the truth. So yeah, definitely, you absolutely can. This has to do, maybe you need some guidance in there. Guidance is super important when it comes to breathing. There's lots of people out there that do, different types of breathing, call it this or that, or try to monetize or market it. It's an ancient human technology, and there's as many ways to do it as there are diets on the planet. There's so many. Some ways are more effective than others, is what I would say. So why am I here? That's a big question. That happens all the time. So now let me move into the next question. I have 3 questions here, 3 questions that I've decided to record and share with you. And now maybe you'll want to get in. So no one's really said anything about, why am I here? Why are you here? Do you know why you're here? That's important. What happens after I die? Big question. Huge question for most people, particularly neophytes. Neophytes are people that are like new to spirituality but aren't really into it or understand it fully yet. It's a question of continuity, like, is there life after death? Do we go somewhere? And do we come back? Is there a soul that continues? Right? These are all really great parts of that question. I usually have people ask me that question along with these questions. What happens after I die? How I would put it is you get out of one car and into the next. Another thing I would tell you is that what I've downloaded from my spiritual guidance, what they told me a long time ago, is that the truth is you've never been born and you will never die. For who you truly are beyond the human form is eternal. And boy, that just made a whole lot of sense to me when I channeled that message about 4 years ago, because I was sitting there and, my mind had some of these same questions, Like I was kind of asking questions about birth and death. And basically what Spirit was teaching me was like, well, death is birth. When you were born into this body, you died from something else, right? So it's like there is no actual death. But also there is no actual birth, and that's weird for most people. Like, but I was born. Like, well, you had a experience that you were born, but who you really are could never be born or dead or killed, because you're living energy, and living energy is eternal. This is hard for the human mind to understand, because the way the human mind understands, everything has to have an origin and an end. But it even says so, like in the scripture, it says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am, meaning you. I am Alpha and Omega. I'm the beginning and the end, and everything in between. Is there life after death? Yes, life is always here. Life is the cosmos, is what it is. And what you may experience after this stage of being may not be the same as the next person, because we're all kind of have different paths in what we need to do. Do we go somewhere? Like, sorta, but everywhere is now and everywhere is here. So that starts to become kind of a strange question to answer. And this usually has to do with ideas of like religious indoctrinations. Like, when you die, you're going to go to heaven. But the thing is you don't have to die to access heaven, because heaven isn't a place. It's a frequency of consciousness, a dimension. So do you go somewhere? Yeah, just out of this body. Out of this body, there are many potentials. There's no one thing that happens. Okay. Do we come back? Certainly, if you wish to. I have many times, and most of you have too. These are what we call old souls. I'm a very old soul. I've decided to be human many, many times. I decided to incarnate this time as a human because this is the greatest time ever to be alive as a human, is during the time of the Golden Age and the Great Remembering. Is there a soul that continues? Yes, of course, because you're not a body with a soul. You're a soul with a body. It's the other way. Your soul, you're always going to be that. You're always going to be that which is beyond the human form. That's forever. So, like, these are all really amazing questions. But the thing is there's only one way you're ever going to actually know, and that is that you'll have to die. Okay, and all of us will. There's no one that's not going to face that truth in this human form. Part of this human form is the experience of death, is the experience of dying. The thing is it happens many times in your life. It's not just when you stop breathing and your metabolic and biological processes stop. It also happens over and over when an old version of you ceases to exist and a new version of you is born. I'll give you like my case an example. Recently, I had a very intense health thing happen that involved me having a very invasive surgery, which kind of changed my life completely. And what happened is a version of me, the old version of me, died. A version of me no longer exists. And what did that do? That created room for a new version of me to be born. And I'm still being reborn in this time. It doesn't end. But all of us will go through that, especially when you get onto the ascension path. When you start to move into consciousness ascension, when you start to ascend, meaning rise in frequency into your higher source power, what happens is you're going to be faced with all the stuff that needs to be rectified in your energy field, okay? So that's happening to lots of people right now. Mostly we have lots of solar activity. The earth frequency is very high. There's all the frequency moving together, and what is it doing? It's causing essentially ascension. It's causing ascension. It's causing, another way to put it would be like development, evolution. There's many ways that can be put. Kurt says, amazing. Yes, you are. That's the truth. It sure is. It sure is. There's lots of truths and also no truth. I'll get into that some other time. And then the third question. This is a good question. Is there something or someone greater than me? Okay. Meaning, like, is there a higher power? The question of the divine, source, God, universal intelligence, is there a higher power? Does something hold all of this together? Am I connected to it? Can I communicate with it? And like I said, these are all questions for people who are very early on the path. Those of us who have been on the path for a while, these questions have answered themselves, because the true way for these, because if you ask me, is there a higher power? That's like asking me, is there God? And I can tell you yes, but that ain't going to do you any good, because I'm just telling you. What you need to do is you need to put yourself in a position to experience the higher mind. And a lot of that has to do with your meditation and your breathing, those two things. Your breathing's A1. There's three kind of facets in which have to be looked at in order for you to reach into your higher intelligence. The first one being is your diet, and that doesn't mean just what you eat. If you can just we'll start there though, begin to eliminate processed foods and sugar and stuff like that. Try to eat more whole foods, maybe calorie reduction, maybe even some fasting. Fasting has been shown to be fantastic for your health, and also clearing for the mind. Okay, so those are really important. Second thing that we would look at is lifestyle. What's your lifestyle look like? Are you overworking? Are you not taking time for yourself, for self-care, to sit still, to breathe, to be quiet and alone with yourself? Are you exercising? All those things need to be looked at and, carefully inspected to see where you can make changes, because it's all about making changes to the lifestyle, which yields big differences in your life. And then third thing is, so it's diet, lifestyle, mindset. How does your mind work? Is your mind, are you constantly complaining? Do you feel victimized? You know, I have friends, like I had a woman recently, she continuously complains about the same things, her narcissistic ex and all these things, and she thinks by talking about them it makes it better, but she doesn't realize all she's doing is complaining. You know, I'm here to listen to you complain, but only once. After the complaint, I only want to talk about solutions. If you want to continue to recycle the problem, that isn't going to heal you. That's going to keep you trapped in a prisoner. And so for some people, this is infuriating because the ego mind wants to be identified with that problem. It doesn't go good for me because of my ex, you know. It tries to externalize and blame everything, but none of that's actually true. We are responsible for how we feel. That was actually my question for the woman, and she got very triggered and upset. I said, who's responsible for how you feel? Isn't that a great question? Ask yourself that. Who's responsible for how I feel? How empowering is it when you decide that you are responsible, no one outside? No one has any control over how you feel unless you give it to them. You have to externalize your power in order for that to happen. All right? Higher power. Is there a higher power? Yes. Are you separate from it? No. So that's really difficult for the ego mind to wrap itself around because since we were children, we've been taught separation. We've been taught even in the throes of religion that God is somewhere out here. But the thing is you'll never access God somewhere out here. You only access God from within. And even the ancient teachers told us that. Even the great brother master Yeshua told us. He said, my Father's kingdom will not come with signs to be perceived. Meaning, I can't show it to you. Because people are like, well, if God exists and there is a heaven, show it to me, prove it to me. Well, I can't, but I can give you fuel to be able to have an experience on your own. Because the experience of the higher power, the experience of the higher consciousness only happens inside of you. But that's where everything happens. Everybody thinks the world is external. It isn't. It's you. It's happening inside of you right now. Everything is sensation through your nervous system. That's why nervous system regulation is so important and why I put it at the very top of human development. Many people overlook it. I mean, you'd be amazed how many people have no actual awareness of how powerful breath work is, how powerful focused respiration is, because they've never spent the real time doing it. Anyone who spent any real time, and I mean like at least 3-4 months straight, of daily breathwork training, then they know. But even those people fall off. I don't know why. I can't answer that. I don't know exactly why. Does something hold all of this together? Yes, I would say it's the divine intelligence of the universe. It's the unseen energy, which is all things, kind of holds everything together. It's an intelligent design. And of course, you're connected to it. Can I communicate with it is one of the questions. Absolutely. And that's what me and Kurt Carrington were talking about. He was saying like how he was having a connection or a communication doing 50 minutes of breathing, which makes sense. I reserve that more for personal teachings and everything. You can't just sit here and breathe for 50 minutes on a live stream. But those can be very helpful. Some clients, I'll go longer. I'll go 2 hours, 2.5 hours of straight breathing. And what that does is this will raise up all of the blockages in the body. This will eliminate all of the hucha or heavy energy that's in the body. And what that allows for is for the flow of light and energy to move through the vertical column. Now, if you have to rely all the time on 50 minutes of breathing to get there, that tells you that you need to do a lot of work. There's a lot of work for you to do to shorten that up, because the ideal reason is to be able to become into because that's a meditative state, to be able to move into a meditative state without having to om out, if that makes sense. So these 3 questions seem to show up everywhere. They show up in religion and philosophy and science, personal crisis, because they sit at the core of the human. Okay, that's what makes them so powerful. So I really enjoyed those 3 questions. Why am I here? What happens after I die? Is there something or someone greater than me? I'm going to open up the floor for anyone that would like to share their experience or opinion or ask a question. The floor is open. Happy Friday. While we do that, I want to thank everyone for your generous donations. Donations make the world go round. If you like what I'm doing, if you like these informational things I'm putting out into the world, I need your help. I need a little bit of energy recycling, a little bit of reciprocity. You giving allows me to receive, and me receiving allows me to give. So everything is a circle and a cycle. So even if it's only $1, that's great. You can visit my Facebook page, or you can DM me directly, and I can give you payment links for that. Very, very important to maintain. Aini is the word in our tradition. This means divine reciprocity, which goes beyond money. Also, any good energy is good. Send that this way. That's also very important. But I want to thank everybody for their generous donations, which I've had many. I've had so much help. I want to talk about that for a second. I've had so much help in the last 6 months while I've been semi-disabled due to my surgery, with people pouring out to help. I'm just kind of getting to a point now where I'm recovering enough where I may try to start some light work. This is actually going against the doctor's orders. The doctor doesn't want me to do any physical labor whatsoever. I just don't think I can go that way. To me, that's not living. There's a big difference between surviving and living. So I don't want to just survive. I want to live. I want to go out into the world and do the things I want to do. And if that happens to kill me, then so be it. That's kind of how I feel about it. But I'm doing everything I can. Mary's doing everything we can. It's been really hard. We've been very fortunate due to our friends and family out in the world for helping us. We've been able to keep our house and stuff like that. So that's really good. And I want to thank everybody for that. Questions, comments, concerns? Yeah. Kurt says, this is great stuff, simple and to the point. Love it. Yeah, that's kind of how I like to do it. That's kind of what makes me a good teacher and a great bridge is I can take information from multiple directions and bridge them together. And that's kind of what it's all about. It's helping people have new ideas or understandings. What I can tell you is there's no one way. There's no one way in which you're going to access your higher mind. I will tell you the most powerful tool for you to access your mind is your breathing. And we're going to do a little bit more breathing before I take off here, if nobody has any questions. We're going to do some fire breathing, one of my favorites. I sit tall in my seat. I pull my shoulders back and down. I get my spine stacked like a stack of quarters. And then I take in a big breath. I do a lion's breath out. Stick out your tongue, open your mouth, roar like a lion, but quietly. And one more. And we're going to begin to breathe in and out through the nose, pumping your tummy. Let's see. Do I have some? I do. I gotta blow my nose. Please excuse me for a second. It's important to have a clear line when you're going into there. So I like to put my hands on my belly, and I just kind of fall in, and I start to pump my belly as I breathe in and out through my nose. You can turn your head left and right. This opens the lymph channels in the face and neck. All your air out. Big breath in. Hold. And release. Ooh, feel that woozy energy moving into the head. We're going to do another round. Big breath in. Lion's breath out. Jump right into your fire breathing. Continue breathing. It's like you're a bellows. You're pumping air into the center of your body. Big breath in. Exhale. Hold. Big breath in. Hold. And release. Ooh, lots of beautiful energy and light. One more time. Big breath in. Lion's breath out. Begin breath of fire. Really go for it. This is the last round. All your air out. Deep breath in. Hold. Squeeze into your belly, your chest, and your head. And release. Very good, very good. I want to thank you all so much for coming into this space and being here with me as we went through these beautiful questions. And I'll be back in a couple days and we'll do another live stream, and I'll come back with some more questions. This seems to be pretty fun and informative, I think, for a lot of people. Even if you're not asking any more questions, I seem to cover a lot of bases. So I might just have answered any questions you did have, I would assume. But I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back with more questions because I communicate with people all over the world every day who are on a spiritual ascension paths. Everybody from the beginner whose eyes just open all the way to the advanced teacher. And I love to work with everybody. I love to share the intelligence of the universe with everyone because we are that. We are the intelligence of the universe, and we're meant to share that, okay? Let's see. I have left out breathing in my life. Thanks. Ooh, that's one of the worst things you can do, Nahama. Put breath into your life. It's the light of creation. It's the prana, the chi, the kausai, the living light and energy that is all things. It brings life into your body, into your mind, into your spirit. I want to thank you all so much for being here. I hope that you have a beautiful weekend. And again, if you'd like to join Sunday's group, it's at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be doing a Zoom meeting, the Light Club. That's something we've been doing every other week now for a month. And like I said, it's just an opportunity for people to come together and have spiritual gathering and experience. So feel free, invite anyone you want. Also, just reach out to me if you need the Zoom link. All right. Thank you. I hope you have a beautiful day. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.